My question then is, we've got all this reporting stacked up. We are now operating under the assumption this is true. Yeah. They knew, they lied, the World Health Organization lied, that this may have, according to Fox News, was a breach, an accidental breach. What do we do? Some people on Twitter have said, wipe all of the U.S. debt to China. That's it. Boom. I don't owe you anymore, bro. You caused this problem. You cost me money. I'm not paying you back.
I mean, see, that's where we get into a big hearty reminder that they make all of our medicine still. They make everything still for us. We rely on them. People are talking about old people dying. It's like, okay, cut China off, and then all of those people that need their blood thinner medicine or insulin. I mean, I could go on, it all comes from China.
Vitamin C.
Everything comes from China right now. So it's like, we can't do that.
You know what's crazy? The Obama administration wanted more U.S. jobs to go to China.
Really?
More. The idea was that it would force China to, it would force our economies to intertwine, and that would prevent China from overtaking us. That was their idea.
Okay.
So send more American jobs over to China. That was called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Yeah. Trump shut it down on day one, right?
Really early.
The first thing he does. Wasn't really, but actually it might have been.
Well, that had been bothering him. I think that troubled him the most when he got elected.
But Bernie said the same thing. The TPP, it would have sent hundreds of thousands of jobs over to China.
Yeah, we need those jobs.
So the idea they had, the way they explained it is, it would make them dependent upon us for these jobs.
And a lot of people have tweeted at me, because we've talked about this before, and they say, it wouldn't work because America has a minimum wage, and then you couldn't make products as cheap. And it's like, what the problem with this is? People buy cheap things and they break, and then they go buy more because there's more. Let's go back to making quality stuff that is more expensive, but it lasts forever. You can fix it.
This is the craziest thing. Wealth inequality, all these lefties are complaining about, it's driven by open borders. That's why I don't understand. It's an impossible political situation these people have put themselves in. Yeah. And that's why you'll never see me supporting it. Listen, if you have a billionaire in the United States, and he says, I'm going to make socks for people to put on their feet. You know why? Because Americans need things on their feet. Everybody does. So then he goes and sends all of the factories to China. The Americans then go to the store and say, 1 pair of socks, please, pay the $10. That $10 goes to China. And then a portion of it goes to the billionaire. Or I should say it goes to the billionaire, and then he gives his cut to the factories. The wealth inequality has been being driven by the fact that the American worker has been removed from the equation.
Yep.
The American worker gives their money away for the product, gets nothing in return, and the billionaires make cash, and the Chinese laborers make the money.
Exactly.
It's driving wealth inequality. So this is why Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump had very similar policies. It was very populist, nationalist, pro-America. Bernie made the mistake of chasing after these people who don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think I saw this tweet. It was like Cardi B was doing an interview with Bernie Sanders and said something like,
I saw that.
She said
I
that
didn't watch it, but
open borders is capitalist. I saw that tweet. I don't know if it's true, but it is. Even Bernie Sanders said this back in 2015. Open borders is a Koch brothers proposal, right-wing proposal for cheap labor.
Yeah. You want to bring factories back to America? Well, we're going to need cheap labor so we can still make the profit that we've been used to.
And that's why they want illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
Man.
It's like, stop worrying about product and let's make America strong and bring that middle ground back to the American citizens.
So this is why I think it's interesting they talk about the disappearing middle class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've sent it overseas.
Exactly.
It's crazy. But what's really fascinating is that you can have in 2016 a Donald Trump and a Bernie Sanders saying the same things. You know that there's leaked audio of Donald Trump back in the day saying Bernie is the one I'm really worried about because he's a trade guy and trade's my thing. Yeah. So I think the reason why the Democratic establishment really, really hates Bernie is that as much as he flip-flopped and started bending the knee to them, he does represent an end of this international, what they call it, the neoliberal economic order or whatever, something like that, where it's we're going to keep expanding free trade, send more jobs overseas. That's an extraction of our economy. And eventually it collapses. You end up with exactly what we're seeing now. Silicon Valley being a really great example. Silicon Valley is all these billionaires. Meanwhile, down at the first floor, human waste all over the streets, homelessness, drug abuse, Even the police who are working in San Fran can't afford to live there.
Yep.
And you know where the labor is done for these tech firms?
No, I don't.
It's Eastern Europe.
Of course.
And because it's cheap. It's really cheap and easy to do.
Profit and greed.
Well, it's interesting. It's capitalist. It's not left wing. I don't understand why these dude, remember what we were saying yesterday when I said people on the left, not being on the left doesn't mean you have you're mentally deficient.
Right.
But people who are mentally deficient will be attracted to the left.
Right.
That's kind of like the far left, I mean. And I think it's because they give you pie in the sky solutions. They tell you that they're going to give you rainbows and candy canes. And then people think, I want that. Whereas a mature adult is going to say, I don't believe you. That's too good to be true.
Right.
So what
do you really want?
Well, what you end up getting are, the Democratic Socialists of America voted it was like in September, I think, for open borders. How did you convince all of these lefties who are supposed to be fighting for labor to support one of the most capitalistic, systems ever?
Yeah, trying to protect labor. That's going to ruin labor.
Totally.
In America.
Yep. Factory's gone. But you know what it is?
No, it's not gone. Your jobs are gone.
You're right.
They go to the people that aren't registered, then they can pay dirt cheap.
Have you seen that video from the DSA meeting where the guy stands up and he's like, point of personal privilege. My name's, John Smith, he, him. Can I just let everybody know that, the chatter is really giving me anxiety. So can we keep the chatter to a minimum? And then he's like, guys, please. And then all of a sudden someone starts huffing and puffing, gets up and goes, do not use gendered language. You've not seen this?
No.
Oh, man. Well, you've seen it.
I have.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have seen it.
Unfortunately.
But the reason I bring this up, and if you haven't seen it, seriously, look up the viral video from the Democratic Socialists. You look at how these people behave. And I think it's fair to say they're not all there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying this to get an emotional reaction out of somebody, but they're clearly not with it.
Yeah.
What do you think then happens if you go to them and say, we should have no borders, right? They're going to be like, yes. And then you're simultaneously going to say, but we're working for the labor unions, right? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Get people who are too dumb to recognize their contradictory ideas.
Yeah.
So this is what I don't get about Bernie Sanders.
Or know what any of it means.
Right.
Right.
But they'll stand up and say, John Smith, he, him, his. It's like, thanks, I guess. Whatever.
Sure, we'll keep the chatter down.
But it's really, yeah. But then they don't. This is really funny. They don't keep it down.
Yeah.
And then there's another clip where he gets up and he starts yelling again.
Same
I already said, keep the chatter to the minimum. It is triggering to my anxiety. Yeah, they're like it's like toddlers in adult bodies.
Yep, I see it all over the place.
So now we have, but basically an end to these policies. This is the craziest thing to me. I don't understand why there are so many conservatives trying to downplay what's going on or act like it's not happening. It's like Trump is getting what he wants.
Yep.
It's like there was a new report that came out saying factories are coming back.
Yeah.
That's it. Boom.
Good.
It's like a guillotine dropped and just sliced it in half. Got to come back.
All these people in the chats were like, is Adam talking MAGA right now?
Maybe not.
I mean, jeez, I was.
A little bit,
dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something to be said about them having all of the factories. All of our medicine is made over there. If it was made here, we would be stronger, wouldn't we? We would.
Yeah.
It's a simple truth.
This is the weird politics that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders, I was a big fan of him back in 2015 and 16. You know why? You know what Bernie Sanders was saying? We need border security.
Yep.
We need to fight for the working class. He was talking about national populist positions that spoke to a lot of Americans.
Yep.
And I'm like, this guy's right. He was asked about the Second Amendment, urban versus rural debate. And I was like, wow,
Yep.
that's legit, man. That's it. I've seen it. And then all of a sudden he starts getting closer and closer. And what does he do? I don't know, man. That $1 million looks pretty good. That fourth house, that looks pretty good.
He's only got three. I'm just kidding.
Does he only have three?
No,
He does only
He's
have
got
three.
3 houses. Only 3. Come on.
Yeah.
Dude, that dude flipped so quick.
Oh, geez.
And now that's like the big thing right now, that like the true progressives are like, no, Bernie, we're not going to get behind you.
Yep.
But that's what's crazy. A lot of people don't seem to get it. I disagreed a lot with Bernie's policies on he put out something that said that they were going to pay for college by putting a tax on speculation on Wall Street. And so I remember I was hanging out by 30 Rock, and there were some progressives. They were talking about it, And they said that they supported him because he was gonna, free college and all that. And I was like, yeah, but how do you pay for that?
Yeah.
Like, because you got to realize, if you promise free college, then you've now got basically every single person eligible to go, which means the schools will fill up and then no one can go.
Right.
You need more schools. All right. You need bigger schools. You need more professors. That's a lot of money you can't predict.
Right.
But let's say you do say it costs 75 trillion or some ridiculous number. Where does it come from? And this progressive guy was like, we're going to tax Wall Street. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
what do you tax? Like,
And does he even know what that means?
he did not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I asked him.
It's such a fluff piece. Like
It means nothing. I was like, what do you mean by like taxing Wall Street? And he was like, like stocks and stuff. Like they make all that money. And I was like, do you know what most of those stocks are and like where that money goes? It's like people's 401ks and stuff. It's not like, they're day traders, they're speculation. But most of what you see in like Wall Street trading is like pensions or something. I don't know. I don't know how it works. And I was like, but it's not like you're assuming there's some like rich dude in like a pinstripe suit smoking a cigar making $1 million.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, that's all.
We're writing on the wall.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That was commissions and stuff.
Right.
And then these progressives started getting mad, saying like, what do you mean? Like, you don't know it's Wall Street, man. They're making all this money. And I was like, dude, do you even understand how trade volume works?
No,
Like if you put
they don't.
Yeah, if you put a tax on a product, you increase the cost of the transaction. People might not make the transaction. You might not make any money at all. So look, anyway, the point is, there are things about Bernie Sanders I completely disagreed with. But there are a lot of points he made, and that's why so many people switched from Bernie to Trump. That's why they're probably going to do it again.
Yep.
Although now, Bernie has tried to adopt, like, dude, a year ago, he was saying, what was he saying? Like, there's too many poor people in the world, we can't have open borders. Where does he go in the last debate last month? Decriminalize. Decriminalize the border crossings. Amnesty. Jobs. It's like you have completely abandoned everything.
Desperation.
Yeah, it's got to be.
This is what bugs me out, because it's like I was saying about the DSA and all that. Their positions are completely contradictory. Bernie did an interview with the New York Times, and they said, in 2015, you said illegal immigration reduces low-skill wages. And he was like, yes, it absolutely does. And they're like, so you admit it. And then all of a sudden, he got flack from the left again. They were like, no, Bernie, you're wrong. It doesn't. It does. We know it does. This is what people need to realize about Bernie Sanders. He's not consistent.
Yep.
It's not like a lot of people do that meme, no refunds.
He's supposed to be the consistent one, right? The one who's been speaking the same thing for
who's consistent
a long time until he got the major platform that he now has.
Sold a book.
And now he's changed.
He no longer says the millionaires. Now he just says the billionaires.
Yeah.
He's in the club.
Yep.
He's in the club. It's a big club. You ain't in it. Trump's been pretty consistent. I mean, I got to admit, Trump says stupid things a lot. Like the most recent thing he said about having absolute power. Nah, there's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
Or like, I can reopen the states. Like, nah, you can't, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But look, the media screeches in his face all day, every day. And it's like, I get it, man. I get it. Okay. All right. If people are going to vote for the guy, they're going to vote for the guy. What bothers me is people coming out and acting like Bernie Sanders isn't in a similar position with his lying and his flip-flopping. They're like, he's consistent. I'm like, no, he's not. Nobody says it. But Trump's been talking about China and all this stuff for a really long time. His position's been pretty straightforward.
Yep.
But the main point I wanted to bring up is people are saying you're talking MAGA. I'm like, no, I mean, yes, technically. But Trump is a moderate.
Yeah.
And even Vox, I'm quoting Vox here, the left-wing progressive site. So he runs and says, I want to do these basic things the Democrats used to campaign on. I think what happened was Trump comes out as a Republican, but offers up a moderate Democrat kind of position without the elitism and the ivory tower kind of behaviors. You end up with a guy who's saying, secure our borders, America first, repair our economy, bring back our jobs, protect the unions. And I'm like, that sounds like a union worker, like their positions on how the government should be run.
Or like a Democrat from the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, but even then, you still had the elitists, ivory tower Democrats.
True.
Like, you look at these union guys. When the guy who confronted Biden on the AR-15, like that, these are union Democrat dudes.
Yeah.
And they're like, why do you want to take away my right to bear arms or whatever?
Yeah.
And Donald Trump says, I won't. And all of a sudden, you end up with a moderate guy. Trump was pretty. I don't know the right way to describe it is, but pretty, let's say, fierce on key issues.
Yeah, he was.
Like one of the things that I think was the stupidest thing he ever said was that Donald Trump was calling for a complete and total ban on Muslims entering the country or whatever. It's like a statement from his campaign.
Yeah, I remember
I went
that.
back and I watched it. He said some things that were absolutely worthy of criticism, but I think what happened was if you come out, if you're Donald Trump and you make yourself the villain, but then say something like, I want to secure the border. The Democrats then had no choice but to reject anything he ever proposed, which makes them seem insane. It's almost like, Bizarro Superman?
Yeah.
Like, so there's Superman, and he's all like...
Evil Superman?
He's not evil.
Oh,
so
okay.
Regular Superman is all like charming and chiseled and handsome.
Okay.
Bizarro is like underbite, really dumb, and he's like reverse Superman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, so he's not necessarily evil, but everything's backwards.
Okay.
So he speaks in like opposites.
Okay.
That's what the Democrats have been doing. It's like, you ever see that episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza is like, today I'm going to do everything the opposite of what I would normally do?
I have seen it, but I don't remember at all.
It's basically what the Democrats have
Been
been
a long
doing.
time.
They're like, they're holding up a list of things Trump said he's for, and they must oppose. So they end up being opposed to ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we
Or
somehow
things that actually do make sense.
Yeah.
That
Right.
they should be like, you know what? That's actually a good idea. Okay, we'll
So-
concede.
So is Adam talking MAGA?
No. I'm not talking MAGA. I'm talking MAG.
MAG?
MAG. Make America Great. Period.
Well, yeah,
Or greater.
greater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make America
MAG.
greater.
Yeah.
Mug.
I think is the best way to put it, because we are great, and we could be better. Let's be better.
But the narrative from the left is that America was never great. That's literally what they say.
We're so spoiled. Whoever is saying that out there, they're spoiled. And they have no idea. And that frustrates me, man.
Yeah.
Because those
Yeah,
people
dude.
they have no idea how great America actually is. It's like,
Do you
go
know-
travel the world and then come back and tell go not travel Europe, not Europe. Go to like
Morocco.
yeah, go
Egypt.
to like the
China.
places. Like I was in South Africa, right? And I landed in Cape Town, beautiful place. But then I had to travel for like an hour and a half outside. And as soon as you get outside, there's no green grass anymore. It's like the favelas of Brazil, almost
Right.
the same. It's
Shanty
like,
towns.
yeah, they have to walk for water, and it's like, you have no idea how great America is. This place is amazing, and we can make it better.
You know what China's doing right now?
What are they doing?
McDonald's.
Yes. What is up with this now?
Tell people a little bit what you heard.
All right, well, man, China is crazy, man. They're now basically saying black people are spreading the virus more than others, and McDonald's is now saying you're not allowed in if you're black.
Do you have any
That's
idea?
so messed up.
Do you have any idea what would happen to McDonald's if they did that in this country?
Whew.
Goodbye, McDonald's. I
Goodbye,
I
McDonald's.
haven't eaten there in forever, but
No
it's
one else
ridiculous.
would either.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to eat there.
Yeah, that
either.
is so messed up.
Dude, if McDonald's handed out flyers banning people based on race,
Yeah.
first their stock price would drop by like 50% as soon as the news broke.
Yeah.
Everyone would sell all their stock. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they're publicly traded. I don't know, whatever.
I don't know.
Then all of a sudden, the federal government would immediately step in and issue a bunch of fines.
Yep.
They would be shut down in minutes.
McDonald's would disappear.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
would disappear.
And I mean, if they did it at a corporate,
Rightly so.
if at a corporate level they did it,
Right.
now,
but I doubt it was at a corporate level. It was probably like, I mean,
no, it was a government level.
So the Chinese government made them all do it, right?
Dude.
So, man, the CCP virus, yo, that's it.
Yeah,
Americans, man, we got too
CCP
many
virus.
We got too many spoiled people.
Let's place the blame where it belongs.
Man, I wonder if like, how do you restore that worldliness to some of these people? It's no surprise that a lot of these people who are saying America was never great are city folk.
Yeah.
It's you know
City folk are even more spoiled.
I was thinking about this when I lived in New York. I'm like standing out front of my apartment. And I'm like, there's a sidewalk under my feet.
Yep.
There's a park in front of my apartment. There's a water fountain with fresh running water. All of
amazing.
these things have always been here.
Yep. And not only that, I can have any kind of food I want to my doorstep
With an app.
in 30 minutes.
Press a button, boop.
Yep.
All of a sudden,
Most people in cities, they're ordering
wait.
out.
I got one more for you.
Go on.
Not only can I have any food delivered to my doorstep in New York City, I can press a button and get Venezuelan arepas delivered to my apartment while people in Venezuela are starving and can't even eat that food.
Yeah.
We have access to food from countries that can't even make the same food
Jeez,
themselves.
Dude, that's mind bending.
But here's the point I was making about this. I'm looking at all these things that are just there. I remember I was crossing the Williamsburg Bridge and I'm like, man, look at this massive bridge. Had to cost the equivalent of like $1 billion to make. It's just there.
Yep.
You never have to think twice about all the backbreaking labor that went into making that. So what do you think's going to happen then? If you grow up in a city where this is your baseline,
Right.
everything's just been handed to you.
Yep.
Now compare that to going out in the middle of nowhere, maybe in the middle of Wyoming or Montana, and you're like, we're gonna live here. Is there any water? Nope. Start digging.
You gotta
We're
dig
gonna
yourself
put
a well.
a pump. Yep.
You need to go to the store. 30 miles.
Dude, I was driving through Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I had a full tank of gas. We like stopped and got gas. I was driving with my friend. We drove for hundreds of miles without seeing a gas station. I thought we were going to run out of gas. And I'm like, well, that's it.
Yep.
There's like nothing here. We're out of gas.
I guess we're going to live here now.
Yep. This is life. It's nothing for hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
And then there was this little tiny shop with 2 gas pumps. And I did not even realize there was a gas station until my friend was like, look, pumps. And I was like, whoa. And sure enough, I was like able to get gas and keep going. People, you live in these cities. And that massive infrastructure is just there.
Yep.
It is. They're standing on the shoulders of giants that they can't see.
Boom. That's it. You know, a lot of this, see, what's the problem with Make America Great Again is I wasn't alive when it was supposedly great in what he was talking about back in like, what was it, like the 30s?
Reagan
the
era
50s,
or something?
the 60s. Like, I was born in the 80s. You know, this is the life I know. And this is a good life that we have. You know, man.
You know what I think it is? I think
people.
it's just, have you actually had to work?
I mean, yeah, there was times where I had to buckle and work down.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you gone through true
Restaurant
hardship?
job.
Have you seen what it's like to not be able to survive? Have you had a loved ones, suffer and struggle and
Yep.
And you had exactly
many times.
And a lot of these people. So we see this in the data. These progressive activists tend to be college educated, making more than $100,000 a year. Yeah, and they're mostly white.
Yep.
So it's really funny that they embody exactly what they complain about, but that makes sense. Think about it. You're the super wealthy, privileged, not I shouldn't say super wealthy, but you're an upper class, privileged, young, white, low T soy boy or whatever. And you're looking around at all these wonderful things you have. And then you hear these stories about how bad things are. And you're like, I blame people like me. And the assumption they make is that every other white person must be just like them.
Right.
Instead of realizing 20 million poor people white in this country.
Right.
They assume it's, everyone must be like me. They must have the same experience as I do of doing nothing for everything. That's the other problem with college too, is that, one of the reasons I see them, they end up going to college, a lot of these people end up becoming permanent students because they don't want to take any responsibility. They're scared of it.
I know some people like that.
Totally. Yep. I know
They're
people
still
who
in
are
school.
like,
they're my age. And they went to school
Mid-30s.
right out of high school, and they're still in school.
don't got to pay back those loans as long as you're in school.
Man.
And then you know what they do? They vote for Bernie to forgive their, hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans.
Yeah.
They took all this money, lived for free, refused to do any work, and that was it. Now it's like, you pay for it. I guess it's just, I don't know what we do to solve that problem of them being spoiled.
Yeah.
Hard times.
Hard times.
That's the only way. I don't see.
Rahm Emanuel, when he got elected in Chicago, said something about mandatory basic training, and I
Right.
really do not like that idea at all for liberty.
Yeah, I don't like
liberty reasons.
mandatory anything.
Right.
Yeah, don't force me to do anything.
But I wonder if there's a better way to implement some kind of retreat or something you can do in school.
No, an ROTC class, it's one semester. You're not in boot camp, but
Yeah.
they're teaching the.
I don't like high school mandatory either.
Well, I mean, it's like I don't know. Make it a part of gym class. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be told how to live my life, but at the same time, if I structured my life better, I could probably get more things done.
Maybe there's.
Than I do. I could have a game podcast going. People are asking me to do it, but I don't really structure my life in a way that I can just do that all the time.
I don't think that's as much an issue though. Like you not doing.
Yeah. I guess I'm
business.
just bringing my own into it, but
I'm saying like these are people who think they don't recognize the wealth and privilege they have. And it's a funny thing. They like to say
that's my point.
They like to say that to the privileged, equality looks like oppression. And I'm like, have you looked in a mirror, good sir? Because you're describing yourself, not me.
Right.
When you complain, that they, as part of their philosophy, they literally believe that a black woman who's a millionaire is oppressed and a white person who's sleeping on the street is an oppressor. It's actually a part of, like, the arguments have been made. Yeah. And it's funny because when I tried talking to some of the more rational progressives, they're like, no one really thinks that. I'm like, dude, do you even listen to the priests of your religion? They say this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I get it. There are progressives who don't, entertain the silliness. but they ignore the rest of them that are actually pushing this stuff. They have fringe ideas that make no sense. And you know what's funny is like we talked about how as things get bad, they kind of disappear. Yeah, well, they're starting to come back because things are getting better.
Things are getting better.
We'll see how it plays out. But
you're right.
Yeah, it's how do you make people not spoiled anymore? That's the big challenge. You can't. I don't believe it. I do not like any mandatory. I don't like that you have to go to high school. I don't like that you have to go to school. Period. I think that's stupid. I think a one-size-fits-all government mandate for institutionalization of human beings is insane.
You got a point.
What do you do?
You got a good point.
What do you do, man?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Lydia was just like hard times, and it's like right. The saying is hard times make strong men or something like that.
Well, and I
right?
wasn't thinking of like a mandatory program. I was thinking of the way we've been so privileged is going to cause hard times that we have no say in.
Right. So how do we get to the skip that? You know,
I like to skip that.
Like, can we wake up before it's too late?
I don't know.
And we're all in hard times, and we're realizing that America was really great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything you can do. You know, I've been around the world, man. The more I traveled, the more I would come back proud to be an American.
Yep.
And I would remember like coming up to the checkpoint after being in some like really messed up place.
Yeah.
And then I remember like one guy was like looking through my passport and I got a ton of crazy stuff like Arabic and whatever. And he's like, man, what is this? He's like, what's this country? And I was like, I think that's like Morocco or Egypt or something. And he was like, you travel a lot. What for? And I was like, I'm a journalist. And he goes, how is it? And I'm like, man, I am so glad to be back in this country, dude.
Yeah, I know.
It's like these young people who complain about America all day and night, they really don't get it. Nope. When you get locked in a camp in China and they take your organs away, when they kick out you or your friends because of the color of their skin, when you go to these countries where they're speeding down streets, afraid to stop at streetlights because someone's going to jump out with an AK or something, and it's like, man, I haven't even been to the worst places in the world. You know, I haven't been to like Syria or anything.
Yeah.
I did have some people try to get me to go, but even I am like, dude, I know how bad it gets.
Yeah.
And I know people who've gone to these places. I mean, I was in Fukushima, so that's probably one of the craziest places I've ever been. And I saw the destroyed gravestones. I'll tell you what, man. I went there. The gravestones shattered. And this guy telling us, like, this was his family's, grave, and, like, it's been destroyed, and it's like the earthquake destroyed it. Going to this guy's house, the calendar left at the day of the earthquake and the tsunami. The clocks all stopped at that time. And you realize, like, everything this guy's family was, everything he ever had, everything he ever cherished and loved, wiped out in an instant. Yep. And he can only come back and take a glimpse of it. And I'll tell you what's even crazier. The guides we had that brought us in, one of them died of cancer.
Wow.
That's the radiation. That's how some people are what they're dealing with right now. But in America, we got poverty, we got crime, we got bad stuff.
Yeah.
But they really don't get how bad things could be. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.